Oh, Steve White, Trekboy 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, I made a video about this, but I just want to get into one side of this issue a bit more. Disney Plus is going to kill Doctor Who. They've already heard it in some respects because by spending a lot of money and giving BBC a lot of money to up the production budget and increase the quality of the show, they've gotten control and preference. So now, instead of the show showing in prime time in the UK, it's streaming in the US in prime time, and it's then streaming in the UK at 12 a.m. at midnight, and like 9 a.m. in Australia. And that's going to hurt the show, just like putting a film up for day and date is going to hurt it, because it's not going to make the money that it would have through advertising, because some people will watch it through streaming, and they're the same people who are already paying for subscriptions, so they're not going to make any money out of those people watching it, but they're going to lose advertising dollars from people not watching it on TV, which they would have had to have done before, and they would have done as a family and as a community. So there's that. And upping the production budget is just going to make the show more expensive, and if it doesn't make more money, which it's not going to because it's got a set fan base, Disney will eventually back out because they're not making any money out of it, and then the show will be too expensive for BBC to produce. So unless they reduce the quality drastically, they're just going to cancel the show. So it's either going to kill the show or ruin the show, in that it sort of went up a notch and then it's gone back down, and it's sort of taken, sort of in the 70s and 80s, it was pretty cheap. And then when the new Doctor Who came out in the 2020s, the 2000s, it was a better production budget, but still wasn't huge production. It was manageable for the BBC. And by increasing it, taking a step back is going to look like, comparing, the 2000s Doctor Who with the 80s Doctor Who. So it's going to hurt it on that level where people get used to that extra bit of flash and tinsel and glitter, and it's going to hurt it. And that's the same thing that Bad Robot did with Star Trek, where they convinced Paramount that if they increase the budget and increase the advertising, that they would increase the profit in the audience, and they could make Star Trek into $1 billion film by spending more money on it. And that benefited them because they were being paid to make it, so they profited from it. But Paramount didn't profit from it, and that's why they won't make another Star Trek film, because they can't make money out of it. They know they can't spend $150 to $200 million on a Star Trek film and make any money, because they only make about 500 million at the most. And still, with inflation, the most successful Star Trek film is Star Trek The Motion Picture. It had 2 million more people in seats basically watching the show than the 2009 JJ film. So with inflation, it's made more money than the JJ film, and because it cost less, even with the inflated budget where they included all the former production costs for the failed Star Trek shows and TV movies and all that, because the real motion picture did not cost $43 million. I think it cost probably closer to 20. But either way, even then, with that exaggerated budget, it still was more profitable for Paramount than Star Trek 2009 was. They basically lost money on those films because with the production budget and the advertising budget, they cost more than the share they got. Because a lot of people don't understand that when films go to the cinema, the studios only get about 40 to 50% of that money. So if it makes 500 million, that means they got 250 million. So if they spent 250 million on it, they didn't make any money. People don't get that. They're like, oh, it made 400 million. You know what you're talking about. Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, this is bad. And the other thing that I'm upset about as an Australian is, along with Disney Plus being preferenced in the US, getting the best times for the show where it drops, because in the UK you can still watch it on BBC, iViewer and all that, but in Australia you can't watch it on ABC anymore. We've had Doctor Who since 1967 or something, basically the year after it came out we started screening it, and it's been a staple on Australian TV on the ABC. But when Disney took over, they killed the contract with the ABC after generations, literally like 60 years. They cut it, and now we can't see it in Australia. We can only watch it on Disney Plus. So unlike the BBC, which still gets it shown on prime time and people can watch it on BBC iPlayer or whatever it is, BBC Player, or I can't remember what it's called. They've got their own streaming service. We don't have that in Australia. As far as I know, the last time I checked, there's no way for us to watch it unless we pay for Disney Plus. So it's not on ABC TV anymore. It's not accessible on ABC iView. The only thing that was one of the Disney, one of the Disney. One of the Doctor Who Christmas specials, and it wasn't the good one with Kylie Minogue, it was some random one. That's the only thing that was available in Australia to view of Doctor Who. So that's gonna hurt the show culturally. You know, people, it's not as relevant now. It's not part of, you know, watching it with the family. All these things affect how a show is seen, and they're just hurting it because they want to make money, and they think if they spend more money on it, they'll make more money. That's not the case. They're just going to hurt the show, and people are just going to miss out on it, or they're not going to watch it in the same way, and it's not going to resonate the same way and have the same cultural sort of relevance that it had. And there's just nothing good about this, except for Ncuti Gatwa being an awesome Doctor who looks cool, and I think will be a pretty good Doctor, because a lot of the Doctors, I didn't even like them anyway. Aside from that, there's nothing good about the new Who, and it's just going to hurt Doctor Who, and that's not doom and gloom. That's just looking at the situation fairly.